Right when we thought that we knew everything about the F-150s, the Apple Watch Series 9 and everything else about Apple's September event, 19 more new leaks have come out over the weekend, and if you're planning on getting a new iPhone 15, I also recommend checking out Notion. Notion is the ultimate productivity app, and I mean it, I've tried a bunch of them and Notion is by far the best, and it works on anything from an iPhone to a Mac, and it's something that you should definitely give a go if you're not doing it already. I'm using it both personally and at work with my team, and it's made our lives so much easier. If you're curious why that is, then check out Notion for free by using the link below. And now back to the video. First of all, we just got our hands on some brand new iPhone 15 dummy units. We did have some units before in silver, but now we got them in all the colors. Shout out to Sony Dixon for sourcing these for us, and these are now even more accurate than the previous ones. You can even see the super thin bezels on the Pro models. The camera modules are more detailed and thicker on the standard models, although still not quite as thick as on the 14 Pros. And we also get to see all the new colors now. For the standard models, we have the midnight and the silver, which pretty much look identical to the 14s. Then we have the yellow, which looks very pastel. I do think the current yellow looks much better than we got the orange, which looks sort of like a pastel pink, which I do think looks quite nice. And then we've got the blue, which looks almost identical to the silver. It's got like 0.5 blue in it, so yeah, I do hope the retail units are more vibrant when it comes to Pro models. The silver and the space gray are essentially the same as with the 14 Pros, and then we get the first two new colors. So we get the new blue and the new gray. The new blue, this have a tint of green in it too, so it's actually different from the iPhone 12 specific blue, while the gray is indeed unique and more similar to the space gray that we have on the MacBooks. Then number 2, the Apple Watch is apparently getting more changes than just a new chip. In fact, according to Mark Gurman, it will be getting the new U2 chip, and no, this won't come with a free YouTube album, but instead it will improve on the Find My functionality, such as accuracy and speed that was already great with the U1 chip that was originally introduced on the Apple Watch Series 6. Oh, and the iPhone 15s are all set to be getting this new U2 chip on top of this. Margarine also reports that the Apple Series 9 will be getting a brand new heart rate sensor too, which would be Apple's 4th gen heart rate sensor, with the current 3rd gen being introduced with the Apple Watch Series 6 when the oxygen level meter was added. We don't know if this 4-stand sensor would bring any features to it or not. It is likely that it will simply be a more accurate sensor, although Apple Watches have already been one of the most accurate smartwatches on the market, and just like the letter cases on the iPhone, which we've mentioned in one of our last videos, that they are rumored to be discontinued by Apple in order for them to be more eco-friendly. The letter Apple Watch bands are apparently going away too. We don't even know if they will be replaced by another material or if the letter link and modern buckle would just be discontinued entirely. One thing that we do know is that the Hermes collaboration will likely come to an end, with Hermes now having removed the Apple Watch options from their website, and if the Hermes bands are going away, I probably assume that the other letter bands will go away too. And interesting enough, leaker Kasutami claims that Apple will be removing the silicone cases from the iPhones too. Again, unclear if they will be replaced with something else, as we already know that's the fine woven cases will be replacing the letter cases, so there might be an alternative to the silicone cases too, maybe something that's biodegradable, I would assume. But this also implies that some Apple Watch bands, like the sport bands, the Solo Loop, and maybe even the braided Sole Loop, would all be impacted as well. Now, aside from this leak on the silicone cases potentially going away, we do have a lot more new iPhone links, more government claims, and his latest reports that the iPhone 15 Pro Max will indeed be called 15 Pro Max rather than Ultra, like we've seen reported a number of times. Mark Gurman also claimed that the 15 Pros will be 10 lighter thanks to the titanium frame. That doesn't seem like much, but it would actually make the 15 Pro the lightest iPhone since the iPhone 10 ends with a 15 Pro Max now weighing almost the same as the 14 Pro from last year. Things do get strange when we talk about the cameras. According to new reports, the 15 and 15 Plus will indeed get a 48 megapixel sensor, but it won't be the same one as the 14 Pros from last year. Instead, this would likely be a smaller sensor that costs less to manufacture. Moving on to the Pro models, it looks like that's large, close to 1 in sensor on the Pro Max is not happening anymore, and instead both the 15 Pro and the 15 Pro Max will get the exact same camera sensor as we had on the 14 Pros from last year, which is a bit of a disappointment as other manufacturers are already using much more advanced sensors, and it seems like Apple will be left behind this year. But interesting enough, even though we are not getting a new main camera sensor at the Pro models, are apparently getting a brand new ultroid camera, one that it's still the same f2.2 aperture as the 14 Pros, but with a high resolution of 13.4 megapixels rather than 12. This is a Very interesting choice, as Apple could have gone with a 16 megapixel sensor or even higher here. I personally haven't seen any camera sensor that is 13.4 megapixels in size, which tells me that Apple is using a custom sensor here, one that could potentially bring us bigger improvements than what we might think. And same goes for a telephoto module on the 15 Pro. Apparently this will get updated to a new sensor of 12.7 megapixels rather than 12. That silver. The same f2.8 aperture. Again, very likely that Apple is also using a custom sensor here given the fairly unusual resolution, which is good as it means that we should get some nice zoom improvements even on the 15 Pro, even if those improvements are necessarily zoom related, but or like better low light zoom performance. And we also get some new details when it comes to that periscope module on the 15 Pro Max. So according to Mark Gurman, this will indeed be a 6x optical zoom module. Before it was rumored as either 5x or 6x. And thanks to Mac rumors, we now know that this will be a 12.7 megapixel sensor, likely the same exact sensor that we have on the 15 Pro, only that we have a 6x zoom lens here, rotted M3X, and I honestly find this a bit underwhelming, as it means that the zoom performance is unlikely to match that of the Galaxy S23 Ultra or even the Pixel 7 Pro or many other smartphones that either use a higher optical zoom lens like 10x or a higher resolution sensor like 48 megapixels on the bright side. Marker Man confirms that we will be getting 8 GB of RAM indeed on the Pro models. This is something that has been debated before, with some sources reporting 8 while others reporting 6. Yeah, really happy with this change myself. This change has also been confirmed by TrendForce, and their latest reports will also claim that apparently the 256 GB baseline upgrade on the Pro models will not happen anymore, and instead we'll still get the same 128 GB as we do now. Mark Gurman hasn't said anything about this in his reports, which makes me think that the base storage might actually be 128 in the end. And Mario Kerman also reports that the internals of the 15 Pros have been redesigned to match the revamped chassis of the regular 14 models, in turn making the 15 Pros more reparable, which last year that was only the case with the non-Pro models. And it's not just the new iPhones getting USB Type-C, but the MagSafe battery pack too, with reports of an updated model being in the works. On top of this, Marker Man claims that Apple is also working on a battery pack that has wireless charging on both sides, allowing you to, for example, charge 2 iPhones at the same time. However, this is unlikely to be ready by the time the iPhone 15's release. Also, it seems like the updated USB-C AirPods Pros are the only new AirPods that we'll see at the Apple event, with the standard AirPods and EuroPods Max is only getting updated to USB-C in 2024. This is likely due to Apple working on bigger upgrades for those that haven't been updated in a fairly long time, and in that case we would get more features than just the single switch DSP type. Also, I did mention that there was a very small chance that we could see the new M2 iPad Air at the Apple event too. It turns out that that won't be the case at all, and neither would March or the October events. Instead, Apple is apparently planning on just having a silent press release in October, which also implies that there won't be an October event this year. On top of this, the iPhone 13 mini is set to be discontinued, which Apple was still selling to this day, ending the sad story of small form factor iPhones that everyone thought that they wanted, but ultimately never bought. Other than that, we'll be doing a live stream tomorrow of the event, so don't forget about that if you want to watch it with us and talk to us about all the new announcements. And other than that, do keep an eye for that secret unveil, that Zorthy unveil, which we've teased on social media, that will be happening very, very soon. I'm Daniel, this Museum of Technical. See you guys tomorrow. So Tech signing out. Cheers. Thank you. Bye bye.